All right.
All right. Grand
Yeah.
Rising, everyone.
Yes.
Grand Rising and happy holidays.
Yeah.
Gosh, I was looking at the chat before we came on, Jeff, and let me say Grand Rising to Kasmir, who's checked in early this time. Woman who runs with bulls. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. How are you, Jeff?
Doing all right. I mean, I'm okay. You know.
Well, you know what I've got going on, right?
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, I know what you got going on. I've been telling you. She's got Mars retrograding over her moon. She's like, why do I feel like this? And I'm like, because you got Mars retrograding backwards over the moon. And of course, that kind of relates to everything that's going on in the world right now. You know, we got Mars retrograde. It has been ever since the 6th. And look at the stuff that's been going on over in Syria and all the stuff that's happening. Yeah. So it's a bit crazy. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, I have to tell you, this Sunday, we got a full moon kicking in. It's going to be right at about 1:02 a.m. So it's like really, really early in the morning on Sunday. But we also got Mercury stationing and going direct. And that's always nice. That happens, of course, 3 times a year. And I don't know how everyone's Mercury retrograde was, but mine was actually fairly productive. I did a lot of things mechanically on vehicles and backed up a lot of stuff and retraced a lot of things. You know, you never get everything done you want to get done, but I got a lot done. It was good. And, you know, it's different for everyone. But the world has certainly gone into a little insanity, hasn't it, with this Mercury retrograde, you know? So, and by the way, you know, I want to play something. This is kind of funny. A while back, and you probably remember this, Ella, we had a bet that Mercury retrograde, you know, screws things up. And we talked about this key. Remember, we actually made this key 3 times. This is really funny. I'm going to play this thing real quick. It's only about a minute long.
Well, give a little bit of backstory. We did try to make the key 3 times, and then we placed a little bet. Jeff thought one way and I thought another.
That's it. That's it. Okay, so here it goes.
Mercury retrograde is
we're going to go do the Mercury retrograde key.
For the 3rd time,
for the
right?
3rd time.
So we made the key twice before.
Yep.
Neither key worked. And the 2nd time we made it, you said sometimes keys get off during Mercury retrograde. And the keys are off. So now we're going to make it for the 3rd time. 3rd time's got to be the charm. So, okay, let's make a pinky bet, because I bet you think it's not going to work. I think it's going to work, so.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to work.
That's not a real pinky bet. Let's go.
Okay. All right. We'll make it a real pinky bet.
All right.
Yeah, I'm betting it won't. You're betting it will.
I'm betting.
You think so?
Of course. Of course.
Well, then put your money where your mouth is.
$50.
$50. Come on.
$50, take it or leave it.
All right, 50 it is.
All right. Oh man, I gotta
$50.
I gotta talk to this key maker.
$50. $50. Put it right there. All right, good. I think 1 key is good. Yep, good. You're good. All right, bud. Yep. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You have a good day. $2.19.
Nothing.
Actually, you just lost $52.19.
Oh, please. Oh my gosh.
It's true. And if that thing doesn't work on the first try, I get the $50.
No, we didn't say the first try.
Hey,
Jeff.
wait a minute.
We didn't say the first try.
Hang on a minute. You know, I mean, when you make a key, don't you expect your key to work the first time and every time?
This is what I think is happening right now. You're realizing that the key is going to work. And now you don't want to lose $50.
If that thing works on the first try, I'll give you $50 on the spot.
You say the first try. You know that lock is funky. So it might not work on the first try, but it's going to work.
Listen.
You can't backtrack now.
So you know, this is a Mercury retrograde key. We're about to give it a shot. Here we go. Drum roll.
Drum roll.
It doesn't work.
I swear.
Get your $50. Get your $50. It doesn't work. I told you it was a Mercury retrograde.
Let me try it.
Here it is, folks.
Here's my $50.
I won the bet, and you got to pay. I don't really care about this money that much, but hey. Okay, now I'm gonna be dignified here. I don't really care about this $50. The fact is, we proved that Mercury was retrograde, and the key didn't work. So you can have your $50, but you lost the bet. But hey, you got your money back. See, I gave you your money back.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Pretty crazy. I mean, it
was crazy, and we really did try to make the key 3 times. So
we should have documented that, because we truly did try to make it 3 times. And Mercury retrograde, you know, proved me wrong, proved Jeff right. There you go. There you go.
Well, it's not me, right? It's just, a lot of things get
Oh,
screwed
no,
up.
no, yeah.
Retrograde. I'm sure a lot of people make keys during Mercury retrograde, but
Yes.
on the other hand, it's always, it's just the way it is. So,
Well, let me just interject something here. Casimir, we took your comment from last week, and Jeff, we are streaming on X right now, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be on X right now.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Instagram doesn't look like it went through. I'm looking at Instagram now. It didn't look like it went through. It's something to do with the stream key. We'll get it figured out, but we definitely are. Yeah. Thanks, Kashmir, for the suggestion. So
Casimir.
Kashmir.
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah.
Take it away, Jeff.
Yeah. So anyways, back to the world and the craziness that's going on. I've been mentioning in the last podcast that clearly we have Uranus retrograde, but the big one is Mars retrograde. And, when we look at what is going on in the world, look at this stuff in Syria. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how the money is going on. I heard a rumor, and I don't think this is a rumor. They were scanning the pallets of cash, I can speak here, in Syria. And they found Federal Reserve Bank ties to some of the money. And again, I always say, follow the money. And they do not want the Trump administration in. And when I say they, I'm talking the owners, the real owners. And I can tell you the astrology is very dangerous between now and this summer. One prophet had actually seen Trump literally praying on the floor because things were going to get so crazy. I hope that's wrong. But I can tell you, and I've been mentioning this repeatedly, every time Uranus goes retrograde and it hits over the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, which is where it is now. And right now, Uranus is retrograde. Actually, Uranus goes direct right around the end of January. But it's also going over a very powerful fixed star called Capellus. And it's going to retrograde literally within 3 degrees and some odd minutes from Caput Algo, the most evil star in the sky. And again, I mentioned the last time this was happening, we had Hitler marching into France, bombing Europe. The whole thing going on there with all the attacks on the Germans coming in, and of course World War II. Right before that, it was the Civil War. Before that, it was the Revolutionary War, and of course we keep going back. Now let's hope this doesn't happen. I always say God's above the planets by far, and things always end up being okay. But I can tell you right now, this is a very, very dangerous time. They do not want not only Trump getting in, but all the people he's appointing. There's a great interview on Glenn Beck that I really enjoyed. And let me see if I can find it here. I think I might have it. And it was really well done, because what happened is he was mentioning all the stuff that's going to come out if Kash Patel gets put in as the FBI director. Here, just watch this. I'll play just a brief clip.
Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI. That's under direct control of the director of the FBI. This is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. All of the text message communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber.
Now, do you think they're going to want that to come back in? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, when you look at all of the totality, not only Kash Patel, but look at RFK, they want to, eliminate all this food additives and chemicals and the dumbing down with the, again, fluoride in the water. I can tell you right now, the resistance on this is going to be formidable behind the scenes. And, a lot of people are using the phrases deep state and all that stuff. I mean, it really comes down, in my opinion, to the bankers. It truly, truly does. I always go back to the guy who said it best, and he really did. It's.
But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls.
The law, no one is above the law. Democrats stand for the rule of law.
We accept the outcome because that's how the rule of law works.
Because the justice system that convicted his only surviving son is the same justice system he's vowed to protect. And if that doesn't tell you who Joe Biden is, I don't really know what does.
Now, you think the media isn't bought and paid for? I mean, when you really step back and look at what's going on, you know, Wilson sold this country. This was way back in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act. And I hate to say it, you know, I don't care if we get banned or not, but I can tell you, we really have a regime that's much, much deeper, and the rabbit hole goes far deeper than just quote unquote a deep state. And again, these things always seem to show up when this Uranus progression over the seven sisters happens. We've got it right now, or transit, I should say. We've got it going on right now. Look at Biden just pardoned his son, which, okay, great. It's his son, so on and so forth. But the things that would get uncovered, and he's about ready to pardon a bunch of other people, the rumors have it, as he heads out the door, that could keep the lid on a lot of things coming loose. And so this isn't just the deep state. This, I think, goes far, far deeper. And when you look at the people really running this place, you follow the money. And this is exactly what's happening right now. So again, the world is like a big dog and we're the fleas, right? And George said that one too. And, you know, I'm not worried about the world. I'm worried about the human race, because we're always burning off karma. And this is exactly where this is all going. And I can tell you, this new administration coming in with Trump and all the people he's appointing, they're going to resist this like crazy. And I hope we don't see false flag events. And I can tell you, with all the terrorists in this country, we've got the background going on with the governors resisting. We've got the bankers funding different wars. Again, Biden just released billions, and there's all kinds of questionable activity going on behind the scenes on how money is being moved around in the Middle East. We'll look at Syria right now. I mean, General Keating was just talking about that same thing. He was very surprised at how fast they put this together. Listen to this. He mentioned
the speed of this. In 12 days, the regime was toppled from the time they began the attack. And kind of interesting, they began the attack when Israel and Hezbollah came to a deal. And certainly the fact that Hezbollah was not on the ground is key to this. So our audience really understands when the Assad regime was going to be toppled by its people in 2011 as a result of the Arab Spring, Iran was all in. They brought tens of thousands of Hezbollah fighters.
Which brings me to the drones. I could keep playing that, but which brings me to the drones. I really think there's some very strange stuff going on. I actually cast charts on that. And I have to say, this is very elusive. I think some of it may be black ops operations. In fact, General Flynn had even made a mention that if there's some mothership from Iran offshore releasing these drones, I mean, we would know it. I mean, I see out here on the Pacific coast, there is a base just north of Oxnard. It's right by Oxnard. And I'm going to tell you something. They need a stop and go light with all the AWACS planes coming in and out. And that's fairly old technology. And I mean, the sky is filled as these guys come in and out, or at least the runways are, I'll say that. I know I've driven by and seen it, where you have a constant flow of shift changes of these radar AWACS planes that are all way out and deep in the Pacific coming back in. This airspace in this country is so well guarded with radar, as well as active moving radar planes. There is no way anybody's going to get in here without us knowing exactly what's going on. In fact, I'd be surprised if a large fly would get in here without them detecting, hey, that's unusual. So whatever's going on, and they're not telling us, of course, we've got all the governors saying, well, don't worry about a thing. There's no danger to the public. I don't know how they can say that unless maybe somebody knows what they really are. And my opinion is, based on looking at the chart, this could potentially be a false flag black ops operation. I don't buy even China brought their balloon in here unless they allowed it to happen. Sorry, there's construction going on at the place here. So if you hear noise in the background, that's why it's a little hard for me to concentrate. They're beating and hammering. They're putting a new bathtub in my son's bathroom. So, you know, this is really intense stuff that's going on right now in the world. And I can tell you, we're going to see a lot of things happen here as Uranus stations. We've also got a Mars-Pluto opposition happening right on the 2nd of January. And I mentioned that last podcast. Very dangerous. And of course, Mars is going to station and go direct right at the end of February. Mars takes a long time to, you know, go retrograde and station and go direct again. But Mars does not cross its point of where it went retrograde until this late spring, early summer. It's going to be in May before Mars goes back over the same point at which it went retrograde. So this is really powerful stuff that's going on for us right now. And again, it's, you know, if you look at the reality structure versus the astrological influences, we have, again, a world that is very dangerous because the owners don't want this to happen, and they truly don't. So let's hope good always wins in the end. But right now we're in a very dangerous time.
Yeah. Well, let me just see here. I'm sorry that Maggie. I want to get to Maggie. She's saying that she's seen drones. She's in New Jersey, and she's.
Oh, they're all over the world. They're all over the world right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's really.
They're being reported all over.
Yeah, God knows what they're up to, and you know the astrology mirrors it, right? I mean, this is what we're doing here on the Astrology Today show. The astrology mirrors what's
it's a very dangerous time. Yeah, I mean, you look at reality on one side. You know, I always had a good time with Robert Hand. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's an old astrologer. He's been around for years, and I had a lot of conversations with him years ago when I was really getting into interrogation. And of course, modern astrologers know that as horary astrology and prashna. And we are always saying that, you know, reality in the world has to mirror what the chart says. And it's interesting. It's a reflective, interactive consciousness, and it truly is. And we're seeing this right now. I mean, we've got a total change. And again, remember, we mentioned Pluto in the tropical zodiac just ingressed into Aquarius. I don't believe it's the Aquarian age, but I do believe it's a shift where we're going to see truth start to be more revealed. And the people are not going to want truth revealed who have got a lot of skeletons in the closet. And this is, I think, about what's going to happen. And when you look back into where things went, and in fact, Kash Patel is also mentioning, people should listen to that Glenn Beck podcast, because there's a brief one I played earlier. And he was mentioning later how he's going to reveal all the documents on 9/11. And his comment was, people are going to really be angry. Well, here you go. Look at astrology right now. We've got Mars retrograde. You got Uranus going over the Pleiades, and particularly Kappa Algo, between now and this summer. This mirrors a great amount of tension and violence in the world, where, again, good and evil are always clashing. And this is exactly what's happening. And it's not just Trump. It's also all the people he's appointing. And they are dusting their tracks right now really heavily. And in fact, there was attempts just recently in the Congress. I think it was Chuck Schumer is trying to appoint this head of this agency that would regulate, you know, disclosures and various different things on Intel. So I forget all the details, but you know, it's all mirroring what the chart is saying. So we're in a very, very dangerous time right now. We truly are. And I think these drones are a combination of things. It's very mysterious. My sense is it looks like a black ops operation that's going to be used in some way to create chaos. That's what I see. And it even could be testing in black ops too. but something is not ringing 100% true on the alien thing. Now, I have heard reports that some of them really do move and act like UFOs, but what I can see in the chart, this looks like it's an inside job. That's what I would tend to lean towards. Also, I want to say something else that, there's been a lot of reports here coming up on terrorist cells that are going to react as this whole, extrication of the illegals starts to happen. And we could see all kinds of things. Remember, right at the end of January, we've got Uranus stationing and going direct. And we could see a lot of trouble here light up. And I personally think they, last time they created a lot of media chaos and impeachments. This time, I think it's going to be, and I hope I'm wrong about this, global chaos where Trump's going to have to deal with it to keep him extremely busy. And again, follow the money. If you look at where the money is, that's really what's happening. And I really think this whole Syria thing is a big shift right now in the Middle East. Very dangerous times, very, very dangerous times. And let's hope it doesn't happen. And when you follow the money, that's where it all goes. So
yeah,
one last thing I want to mention too. There was a number of vials, like 300 and something pathogen vials that have been reported missing in Australia, some biolab in Australia. And there's also been reports that we could see another pathogen release or bioweapon. And again, we heard about COVID enough to make our eyeballs cross, right? It's been COVID for the last 3 or 4 years. And they might try a number of things here coming up to really throw curveballs at this current administration coming in. I again would stay on my toes. It's not I would love to say it's sunshine and clear weather. I think we're going to see a kind of a duality. We're going to see evil really ratchet up, and we're going to see good really ratchet up. Good always wins, though, and it always does. Divinity's above creation. But this seems like the collective karmas we all go through. So what were you going to say, Ellen?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Jay Henneman is saying here, isn't there any way to expose and stop the owners? And I mean, of course there is, but
I think what's happening is what Trump is appointing, the people he's putting in right now. He's got, Kash Patel, I think, is a really good Hegseth, too. This is what I've been saying. You're going to see backlash on these people. They're trying to come up with all kinds of reports on Hegseth now. And, of course, they'll do the same thing to Kash Patel. They don't want these people in. Kash Patel was speaking on Glenn Beck about how much power the FBI and the DOJ have. They really do. And, again, this current administration, the stuff that they're doing right now, they're literally lighting the house on fire before they leave. And I think it's much worse than we even hear on the mind control media. And we're going to see where this all goes.
For sure it is. They're giving us little tidbits. And I never feel like I'm listening to the truth, ever.
God, I guess. Yeah, you got that right. I mean, it is nonstop. No question about that. These people, I mean, it's, their job is to create chaos. And it really is, and it always comes to mind. I think this guy said it best. This is nothing new. This is back in the Civil War.
There's another old saying, Senator. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining.
And that's kind of what's going on. I hate to say it. But, I mean, it may sound a little coarse, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty much what's going on, folks. And I wish it weren't, but it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, let's look at a few comments and questions here, Jeff. Seeking Truth is saying, been watching Farsight remote viewers. They all saw a nuclear strike and lots of loss. Thoughts on this?
Well, repeat that again. I didn't hear the last part of the question. Or the comment.
Been watching Farsight remote viewers. They all saw a nuclear strike and lots of loss. Any thoughts on this?
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I mean, clearly, when you look at the symbolism in the sky and the influences of the heavens right now, I wouldn't be surprised about a false flag event that happens. And when? Well, we've certainly got anything going on here in January that could bring it about. And we certainly have a hot spot all the way between now and this May. So, and again, Trump is in really grave danger. I mean, do you think they're not going to do something here to disrupt having all this exposed? These people have had 100+ years of free reign, and they have. In fact, Kash Patel was even talking about exposing the JFK documents. And he had mentioned in the Glenn Beck interview that there was a lot of interconnecting things to today. And that's the reason why it wasn't done during the last Trump administration. But I think they're going to release 9/11. If he does that, wow. I mean, anyone who thinks buildings come down like sparklers from jet fuel. I know I've got clients who are literally structural engineers. In fact, one worked with the Army Corps of Engineers and it said, this is impossible. You could never get those buildings to come down like that. And of course, you look at how the media, including Fox, all of them, they literally whitewashed that entire thing. So again, when we look at our media, it is a mind control game. It really is. And this kind of exposure is going to be really resisted. There's no question. And I hate to say it, the financial systems are in grave danger right now. And you've got the BRICS nations, coming forward trying to jettison the U.S. Treasury bonds, which will collapse the dollar, absolutely collapse it. Trump, with his tariffs and all this, actually might be the right way to go. Strengthen the dollar, get this country back up and running. The industrial might of this country has been gutted. It's been gutted for years. Yeah, we still do a lot of manufacturing and mining in certain areas. But I mean, what our capability is versus what we're doing, oh my God, it's not even comparable. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, back when my father would take me into auto parts stores and, just machine shops. And, there used to be a machine shop on every corner in the Midwest. Now, the only thing you got is 7-Elevens and lottery places. It's and burned out buildings. I mean, it's crazy what's been done to this country. It's absolutely saddening is what's happened to it.
It is. It really is. Well, let's hope. Like you said, we're going to see good. We're going to see evil. We always do. But let's hope when this, new administration gets in, we do see a positive change.
The big thing I liked is the United States has a primary directed Jupiter trining the sun.
Right.
That's literally a skyhook from God, pulling us up out of the mud, pulling us up out of the sewer. And that I really was pleased to see. Also in the naughty astrology, the progressions, the Jupiter just kicked in for 12 years about last year. So it takes time for this stuff to take effect, but we do have progressions that are counteracting this. And again, divinity, creation, God, whatever you want to call it, is above astrology. I really believe astrology is what I would call the interconnected portals to the souls and to creation on the earth. But it's not creation. It is the transmitter of creation. Astrology is about time. I always say God created time so everything wouldn't happen at once. And that's literally what I think astrology is. They are modulators, if you will, to creation. So, divinity is above. And that's why no matter how crazy the world gets, creation, life, and divinity always wins. It always does.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, we've got Kasmir asking early on, will Greater Israel happen? Now, I'm not sure if you know what he means.
No, I don't.
Greater Israel, let us know, Kasmir. Expound upon that in the comments and we'll come back to you.
Well, I think we're going to see this administration really get behind Israel much more. I mean, clearly what's going on with the Biden administration. I mean, I just heard reports this morning and last night that literally they're just released like 49 billion or some a really huge amount of money. And yet that's not the totality of it. I'm hearing that now they can launder money through other countries and bring it in. They're funding this. And who is they? I mean, we know Biden can't walk across the room and, figure out where the door is. It's not Biden running this place. It's the owners. It's the owners. It's the bankers. And I got to tell you, that's exactly what's happening right now. And it's a very, very dangerous situation, especially when you got a, administration coming in that's talking about exposing it all. This is exceedingly dangerous. I mean, this is definitely going to be, a time where resistance comes in. And I think that's what we're seeing. As far as Israel goes, there's no question there's going to be, in fact, even in Revelations, and Nostradamus said that all roads point to Israel. So, again, they're priming the pump. It's just a matter of how can they get it going. So, I think one of the things that I like is Trump is very anti-war through strength. And that's going to be a saving grace in the end, any way you cut this. There's no question about that, in my opinion. So
yeah,
we'll see where it goes.
Let's hope. We'll see where it goes. Lynn Davis is joining us. Lynn Davis, Baby K, how is she doing? Thanks for joining us, Lynn.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Lynn is asking, could all this be the beginning of Project Bluebeam?
Well, it could be, I mean, that's another thing. See, that's what was so hard to unravel on these drone things, which I don't think it's just, I think there's black ops going on here, but I also think there is extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial stuff has been interacting with our military around the globe and all militaries. I mean, every country has reported extremely advanced craft that they can't even come close to competing with. So I think it's a little bit of both. And that's what was so mysterious in the interrogation astrology. And I actually cast Prashna. Prashna is a really cool technique. A lot of people have heard of horary astrology, or they've heard me mention interrogation. But Prashna is the kind of parallel in India. It's used in Vedic astrology sidereal. And I've had a lot of people say, well, geez, Jeff, you'll get the same chart. No, you won't. Why? Because the sidereal zodiac is about 24 degrees back from the tropical. And the techniques used in Prashna are completely different. They're similar, but completely different. It's much, much older. You can tell by its origin and some of the modalities in it. There's very specific methods of analysis. I like using both the traditional ancient interrogation and the Prashna side by side, because they usually support each other in very mysterious ways. And a lot of very honest Vedic astrologers have admitted that. They said, we don't know why your tropical zodiac still works, and it does. But the Prashna, I really love. And why I bring that up is because I started analyzing these drones with this, and I went, wait a minute. This looks like government involvement in some capacity, not so much what we would call our government, but black ops stuff. I mean, I have heard, from various sources, I've had a lot of clients who are in military intelligence. They can't mention much, but they say you have no idea what really goes on. I mean, we have the published battleships and the airplanes and all that stuff and the submarines and the infantry, but they have so much going on in black ops stuff that is so advanced in underground bases, stuff that's going on in space, genetic engineering. I mean, they have so heavily invested into like Terminator type unmanned craft. And again, I had mentioned, a number of months ago, the word has it that we've perfected a technique called fission. It's not fusion, it's fission, which is a lower level nuclear power, which allows small nuclear powered devices to be put into aircraft or drones. And they can keep these things in the air for as long as they want. And they're unmanned. Nobody has to go to the bathroom. Nobody has to sleep. Nobody has to eat or whatever else. Moreover, it allows weaponry that doesn't need bullets. You're talking lasers, particle beams, directed energy weapons. So there's a lot going on. And I think as a result of that, some of our I don't think there's so much extraterrestrial. I think there's a lot of terrestrial people who've been on this planet. Call them people, call them aliens, call them what you will. But I really believe there are other races that have been on this planet probably since before we were here. There's strong evidence that there's huge bases under the ocean. The military's been tracking these things coming in and out in the water. Many different places in the world have talked about these underground UFOs, if you want to call them, or UAPs. I really don't even like those terms. That what they really are is terrestrial life that's far more advanced than us, and it's been going on for an awful long time. And
uh-oh, did we lose Jeff? Let's hope not. We might have. I can't see him on my
I'm
end.
back again. What happened was, I hit a wrong button here. And I think the drone thing, just to continue where I was, I think the drone thing is just one element of what we're seeing. We may be seeing layered exposure here where we've got Black Ops drone things going on, but also we have things going on with extraterrestrials monitoring that. And that way it was so hard for me to unravel. By the way, as I was mentioning, Prashna, a lot of astrologers will look at your birth chart, or they'll look at mundane events, or they'll look at countries, which is good. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think someone not using interrogation astrology and Prashna is like trying to fly a plane with one wing, because Prashna and interrogation is like a flashlight. You can shine right on exactly what it is you're asking about, and trying to fish all these very complex things out of just mundane astrology alone, even though it's a great help, is hard, or your birth chart. So I'm always using interrogation and Prashna when I do readings with people, because again, people will ask about a specific issue, and it really highlights exactly what you're asking about. Well, the drone thing, which brought this all up, is why I looked at Prashna as well as interrogation side by side, which again is tropical and sidereal. And the Prashna is very interesting because it revealed in a lot of ways that there's multi-layers here going on. You might have Black Ops going on where there's trickery and subterfuge trying to get wars going. And at the same time, you've got the extraterrestrial, if you want to call them that, watching this. And there's also, we had Chris Bledsoe on, I think it was about a year ago. And Chris is a great guy. We're going to have him back on again, too. And he had mentioned that a lot of these so-called UFOs or UAPs may be angelic beings. In fact, there's actually been, he had one orb come up to him and a being stepped out of it. And many people have reported stuff like this. And, again, this is where divinity comes in. This is where I always like to say, we are down here where spirit manifests into matter. And there's a lot going on here. And I really think the evil spirits are incarcerated in the process of spirit concretized into matter. And we talk a lot about that stuff. And again, this is, we're all here on a short sojourn called our lives. And we're not going to be here forever, in these bodies at least. This is the journey we're all on, and the world is a stage. Shakespeare was right. The world's a stage. We're the actors, and our perception of reality is the movie we're playing. It really is.
Yeah. To touch on Chris Bledsoe for another second, if anyone hasn't checked out his book, you should. UFO of God. Amazing book. And he talks about all these experiences he had, and like the one Jeff was just describing, where a being actually came up to him. And these are angelic beings, and incredible. He is going to be on the show, I think in January or February next year, but really incredible, the research he's done. And he's working with NASA. He's working with the government. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It sure is, yeah. And, I always go back to the founding fathers of this country, particularly George Washington. George Washington literally had visitations, and he was actually told to continue the war. And he actually was told about the Civil War, and he was actually warned that there would be a third conflict that would challenge the United States. And he actually saw troops on the plains of the United States, and we would win. So let's hope that vision doesn't come true. But clearly, we have seen an effort with this last Biden administration. I don't care what anybody says. My opinion is we had a Pluto return on the United States. And again, that Pluto return is happening as we speak. The Pluto return on the United States actually finishes this December 29th. We're right there. This is the sidereal Pluto return. Again, very dangerous time right now. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope we fly through this with no problems at all. But it's an interesting thing when you look at the astrology and then you look at the craziness that's going on. This whole Middle East, that was all rearranged. You know, before World War I, if you look at a map, you can look this up on the internet. It was just Palestine, Israel, and Egypt, the Holy Land. You didn't have all these different little countries that were divided up and sectioned off by the bankers in World War I. And isn't that interesting? World War I kicked in right in 1914. And that's right when the Federal Reserve Act, it's right when these bankers seized control. And many people have talked about the conspiracy theories with the Titanic. Now, I've actually looked into the Titanic. And I got to tell you, I don't care what they say, there was some really mysterious stuff going on. I actually did a documentary that one of these days I might finish, and we'll play excerpts of it on the podcast about how the astrology mirrored when the Titanic set sail. And again, the Federal Reserve Act, all this stuff really changed the modern world. This is when everything started changing. We mentioned this on another podcast, how there was a book, I forget the name of it now, but The Great Taking. And I had mentioned the gentleman who wrote it, who doesn't come to mind right now because it just popped into my head. But The Great Taking, you can look it up. It's a free book you can download. He actually shows how the Great Depression in 1929 was actually caused again by the New York banks, allowing everything to cascade and crash this country, which is, I believe, the bankers' way of telling, the people running the government that literally, hey, we run this place. And you want to change, you follow our directives. And again, look at what happened very shortly thereafter. We had the rise of Hollywood in the 30s. And then, of course, look what happened in 1941, war again, right when Uranus came over the Pleiades, which is what it's doing right now. So very, very dangerous time right now we're in. Let's hope it's mitigated.
Let's hope it's mitigated. Well, you spoke to that Jupiter a few minutes ago, and let's hope that Jupiter really does mitigate all of this.
Yeah,
Sherry Bedell is joining us today. Hi, Sherry. She's asking, are we going to be okay here in Los Angeles? We are part of the 17 cities they are warning about.
Yep. Well, that's what I'm saying. You're seeing a resistance here. I mean, I don't think we realize that we were this close to going into communism. And when you look at COVID, and I know I'll be called a conspiracy theorist, but when I looked at the astrology with COVID, that was exactly, I mean, you could have set your watch to when COVID happened. It was right exactly on a tropical Saturn-Pluto conjunction, absolutely to the T. In fact, the Federal Reserve Act, if you go back in time, the whole thing with Saturn and Pluto conjunctions are very, very dangerous. In fact, 9/11 happened on a Saturn-Pluto opposition. So whether these guys are using astrology, and I believe they are from everything I've heard, I haven't directly been involved with these kind of guys, but I have had a teacher who was, and he was an old man from India. He used to do a lot of stuff for the London banking district. And some of those names we hear dropped around like Rothschilds and all that were involved. And I know what he was doing, because he told me. It was electional astrology, interrogation astrology, and mundane astrology, timing when events and energies were in play. So they're very well aware of what's going on. And again, I think if Kash Patel gets in, and I believe he will, if they don't cut his brake lines or shoot him in the head, because they'll try, I believe a lot of this stuff is going to get exposed. And Kash Patel actually said that, wow, he said, if people knew and saw the documents on 9/11, they are going to be angry, really angry. And, again, that, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's actually a conspiracy fact from everything I've seen and heard. And that would support the astrology 100%. So, yeah, Sherry's right. I mean, we are definitely, the West Coast is one place that they said could be sacrificial. They don't care. Hollywood's broke anyhow right now. That propaganda machine's, a thing of the past. And, I mean, especially now you look at podcasts, everybody's able to put out their own things. It's just, from everything I've heard, Hollywood's clearly going broke. They're living off their past successes, selling DVDs and, airing old great movies. The new ones are doing okay, that are successful, but not the kind of cash revenue that they used to get off of things. The world has changed. It really,
Yeah.
really has. And I also have to say, what we're seeing here in these cities where the governors and the mayors are resisting, you're going to see a lot of conflict. And this is a place where we could really see violence and terrorism and riots come forward.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, this parallels the astrology, because what do you got? You got Trump getting signed in on the 20th. I took a quick look. I got to look deeper at the inauguration date, and it's good, and yet it's very challenging. I think it's happening on a moon square Mars. I have to refine it. I believe it's January 20th, and I took a quick look-see, and I did not like the astrology that day. It was moon squaring Mars. However, the sun was trining Jupiter. So that's a good omen. But it shows a good omen with a lot of trouble here that's going to be on the plate for Donald Trump. And, I have to say, he didn't need to take this on. I know a lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him, but I can tell you, he did not need to take this on. He'd have a perfect life living, playing golf for the rest of his life and getting more orange. But I can tell you that it's a very, very, very dangerous time right now. And
well, to answer Sherry's question specifically, you'd want to cast Prashna on that, right? Specifically on Los Angeles.
Yeah. I mean, I can take a look at it. It would take quite a bit of time to do that, but you know what? I can do that and look at it next podcast.
Yeah, let's look at it. Let's do that and look at it next.
In fact, here, hang on. I'll cast it right now so we don't lose it. And, here. Oh, by the way, I got a couple of visuals here for everybody. This is pretty cool. I'm actually looking at my screen up above here. I'm going to share my screen here so that people can see. And this kind of relates a little bit to what Sherry's asking about. And that is here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to look here how we do this entire screen. There we go. And this takes me a minute here just to get it up. So now I'm going to show you something that's pretty doggone cool. This is a sky map, if you will. And you can see this is the belt of the zodiac, which is angular. And that's because of the angularity of the Earth. The Earth is sitting at a tilt. Well, notice something here. If I come over here and I find Algo, where is Algo? Let me find, I had it here before. There it is. If I hit this, you'll see a little ping way up here. See right up there where my cursor is. It might be a little hard to see. I'll ping it again. That is Caput Algo. Well, notice this is Uranus where I'm circling with my cursor right here. It might be a little hard to see, but you can see that. So Caput Algo is just above. And see, Uranus is going to station in the sky and come back and line up with that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, but it's way far north. Well, that's true. That's called ecliptical latitude, or what we call the way they align in a latitudinal way. So it's called the obliquity of the ecliptic, a very fancy word, but very powerful stuff. And, they don't have to be at the same latitude, though they'd be more powerful if they were. But the fact that it's lining up, it's going to bring trouble to this world. And I hope, again, I am completely wrong about that. So here, I'll just cast her chart here real quick. So she's saying specifically, will the West Coast?
Right. Are we in danger here in the West Coast? I feel like we should be casting a Prashna for every single city, every single.
Yeah. Well, and here could mean the U.S. or just the West Coast. But yeah, I will definitely look at that. Here you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally casting a chart for the moment. It shows they're going to be getting foreign war going is more what I would say at first glance. We are overall somewhat protected here with the moon in the fourth. Yeah, we're pretty good. Again, I like to take my time to analyze these things. I would
Yeah,
tend to
break it
say,
down further next week.
we'll do it next week. But in general, it doesn't look completely catastrophic, which is a good thing. So let me see if I can get out of this. I don't know how the heck to get out of here now. Let's see here.
Yeah, we've got another question that came through from Ethan about the UK, and I believe that would be an interrogation as well. Do you think that if the monarchy in the UK is removed, it will then give way for a socialist communist regime?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what they wanted. I really think the COVID was a global attempt to, again, have us be broke, own nothing, and be happy about it. And I don't think they're ever going to stop. In fact, it shows their next real big push is going to be just in a few years from now, 2028. That's when Saturn and Pluto make a square. But I think the financial systems right now are really the focus, the money and war and money. That's where it's at right now. And I got to tell you, this is a very interesting time because Trump had made hints that he would even potentially start printing our own money. Now, that's what got JFK killed. It also probably is what got Lincoln killed. Rumor has it, after the Civil War, Lincoln was going to start printing U.S. Treasury bonds directly out of the Union. And that, I think, we had a central bank back then. And so even though it wasn't called the Federal Reserve then, that might have been what got him killed. And it's always been follow the money. It's all about the money. And this is where we're at right now. And again, we couldn't have more tensions with the BRICS nations wanting to jettison all this, treasury bonds that are sitting here with the United States. I mean, we've lived a life in the lap of luxury for the most part in this country because we have been the reserve currency. Very, very powerful.
Yep. I want to take it back. I know you have to go in a minute. I just want to take it back to some earlier comments about the Mercury retrograde. Kelly, I'm glad you're doing much better. Kelly, she had to have emergency dental surgery, during Mercury retrograde, but all is well. I'm glad to hear that. Esmeralda, her daughter was in a car accident. She wrecked the car just 3 days ago. She's fine, but the insurance company has been very difficult. She's asking if you have any suggestions, and she gives her birth date. But, that's something, if she's doing fine, that's amazing. And a lot of times, for Jeff to look into anything for anybody specifically, he really needs.
On air, it's really hard to do it.
On air, he can't really do it. But the most important thing is that she's doing well. So
yeah, car accidents, again, Mercury retrograde. See, Mercury retrograde. It's really at all times. I mean, you can have an accident.
I was just going to say that, not that things don't. They happen at other times when Mercury isn't retrograde.
Well, and you look at the transits and progressions in a person's chart, it really shows up. I actually had a bad motorcycle accident in the late 70s, right exactly as primary directed Mars was conjuncting Mercury in my chart. And I couldn't believe it. And a lady pulled right out in front of me. I mean, just literally pulled right out in front of me. Didn't even see me on a motorcycle. And I did a cannon shot over the hood. And thank God I landed in a muddy ditch. And I only broke my ankle. And I got to tell you, that was intense. And, stuff happens. It's very, very dangerous driving, especially today. I just had a client yesterday who was telling me her son, who just turned 18, wants to get a motorcycle. And I'm like, man, tell him to be careful, because motorcycles and cars are, we got so much traffic on the road. Everybody's texting. Yeah.
I want a motorcycle, but I just ride on the back of Jeff.
Yeah, right. They're dangerous. They are dangerous. Yes, they really are.
That, you have to be so focused, so focused, and drive for everyone else. Yeah.
Well, I always say, my grandfather and my dad, my first motorcycle was in 1967. That'll give you an idea how many times I've wiped out. And, they say there's two kinds of motorcycles riders, those that have gone down and those that will go down. And I am certainly the second And you don't want to go down.
No,
And
you don't. You don't.
no, you don't. I started my son out driving motorcycles in the desert, and when he was like 12 and a half. And of course, he went down. He wiped out. And after a couple times, you go, okay, that really hurts. I'm going to be more careful, right? So,
yeah, and he is careful now.
Yeah, he's crazy, but he's careful. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thanks so much for this. Thanks everyone for joining us. Happy holidays. I can't believe it's almost Christmas. It's almost 2025. Hard to believe, but take good care of yourselves. I just want to talk about the power of prayer for a second. I don't think we talk about that enough. So powerful and keeps me grounded and sane. I've got a lot going on right now, a lot of tough energies, power of prayer and connecting to the breath. Take good care. Enjoy the rest.
No matter how crazy the world gets, you have your mind, and they can't take your mind away. And that's the key right there.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. See you next time.
Bye now.